I am not resisting, but you are making a mistake.
Officer, he's complying. Please
Shut
don't
up.
pull him
Stay
like
in the
that.
car. Call your supervisor immediately. You're about to make a career-ending mistake.
Out here, you're nobody.
Keep your hands where I can see them. Both of you. Now. The command cut through the quiet night like a blade. The flashing lights painted everything in harsh blue and red, turning a simple roadside into a stage of tension. Inside the car, Aaliyah Reed didn't move fast. She didn't panic. She slowly raised her hands, placing them clearly on her thighs. Beside her, her husband, Marcus Reed, rolled his window halfway down and kept both hands visible on the steering wheel. His voice was steady. "Officer, we're complying. But why were we pulled over?" Before we go further, quick question for you. Where are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. And if you enjoy intense, real-life stories like this, make sure you subscribe. Trust me, this one only gets deeper. The officer didn't answer immediately. His boots crunched against the gravel as he stepped closer, shining his flashlight directly into Marcus' eyes, then shifting it sharply toward Aaliyah. The beam lingered too long, like he was searching for something that wasn't there. "Don't get smart," he snapped. "Step out of the vehicle." Marcus didn't move, not out of defiance, but out of caution. "Call your supervisor immediately," he said calmly. That was the moment the air changed. The officer let out a short laugh, not because anything was funny, but because he thought Marcus had no idea who he was dealing with. "You're about to make a career-ending mistake," Marcus added. The officer's name tag read Officer Harlan. And at exactly 11:47 p.m., on a quiet two-lane road outside Riverton, a simple traffic stop began turning into something else entirely. Earlier that night, nothing felt unusual. The road had been calm, the drive smooth. Marcus was focused, hands steady on the wheel. Aaliyah had kicked off her shoes, relaxing after a long day. They were just heading home, talking about food, whether they should cook or just eat leftovers. No speeding, no swerving, no loud music. Nothing that should have attracted attention. Then headlights appeared behind them. Fast, too close. Aaliyah noticed it first. "Is he following us?" she'd asked quietly. Marcus checked his speed. Perfect. He signaled early, adjusted his lane position, did everything right. Still, the cruiser stayed glued to them. Then the lights came on. Red, blue, flashing hard. Marcus didn't hesitate. He slowed down smoothly and pulled over carefully. No sudden moves, no confusion, just clean, clear compliance. Inside the car, both of them switched into a mindset they knew too well. Hands visible, interior light on, calm breathing. The officer approached slowly, dragging the moment out. When he reached the window, he didn't greet them. No good evening, no explanation, just a demand. License and registration. Marcus kept his tone neutral. "Of course. Before I reach, can you tell me the reason for the stop?" The officer's jaw tightened. "Because I'm stopping you. Now hand it over." Aaliyah spoke gently, her voice controlled. "Officer, we'll provide everything. We just want to understand why we're being stopped." Instead of answering, the officer changed direction. "Where are you coming from?" Marcus blinked once. "The city." "Where are you going?" "Home." "What were you doing in the city?" Aaliyah glanced briefly at Marcus. This wasn't a normal stop anymore. Marcus chose his words carefully. "We were working." The officer scoffed. "Working? Doing what?" There was a pause. "Government work," Marcus said. That answer made the officer smirk. "Government work? Sure." Aaliyah tried again. "Officer, can you tell us what traffic violation you observed?" That's when the tone shifted. "Step out of the vehicle," the officer ordered sharply. "Driver first." Marcus stayed still. "Officer, I'm willing to comply with lawful orders. Can you state the reason for that instruction? Am I being detained?" "I don't have to explain anything to you," Harlan snapped. "Step out, now." Aaliyah didn't raise her voice. "We're not refusing, we're asking for clarity." The flashlight snapped toward her face. "You're real mouthy," Harlan said. Marcus' grip on the wheel tightened slightly, but his voice stayed calm. We're being respectful. Hands out the window, Harlan barked. They both complied immediately. Any weapons in the vehicle? No, sir, Marcus answered. You sure? Because you're acting nervous. Aliyah responded quietly. We're not nervous. We're cautious. There's a difference. The officer leaned closer, light flooding the inside of the car. What are you doing out here this late? Driving home, Marcus repeated. Harlan narrowed his eyes. Why are you avoiding eye contact? Marcus answered plainly. I'm looking forward because you have a light in my face. That answer irritated him. Your vehicle matches the description, Harlan said. Marcus' eyes sharpened. Description of what, officer? No answer. Just the same command, louder. Step out of the car now. Aliga spoke again, steady as ever. Is there a BLO? Can you tell us the details? Don't play lawyer, Harlan snapped. Marcus responded calmly. We're not playing anything. You said we match a description. We're asking what it is. Then the line came. You people always want to argue. There was a brief silence. Marcus asked quietly but firmly, What do you mean by you people? The officer hesitated for a split second. Then he doubled down. I mean people who think they can talk their way out of everything. Stat out. This was the moment where things usually explode. But Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult. He didn't argue. Instead, he offered a solution. Officer, I'm requesting you call a supervisor. Harlan looked almost offended. A supervisor? For what? For the way this stop is being conducted, Marcus replied. Aliyah added softly, We want to ensure everyone stays safe. Harlan laughed again, louder this time. Oh, you want oversight? That's cute. Then his tone turned cold. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to step out. I'm going to search this vehicle. And if I find anything, you're going to jail. Marcus said it clearly. We do not consent to a search. That sentence hit hard. You don't consent, Harlan repeated. I don't need your consent. Aliyah corrected him calmly. Yes, you do, unless you have probable cause. Harlan's breathing changed. His patience was gone. Now you're really done, he said. Marcus nodded slowly. Officer, I'm going to comply with safety instructions, but for the record, we do not consent to a search, and we are requesting a supervisor. Harlan stepped back and grabbed his radio. Dispatch, send me a supervisor. Possible, non-compliant occupants. Non-compliant. Even though they hadn't broken a single rule. Marcus unbuckled slowly. I'm going to step out, he narrated. The door opened, and in that moment, everything escalated. Marcus stepped out slowly, exactly the way he announced he would. One foot touched the ground, then the other. His hands remained visible, raised slightly away from his body. Every movement was controlled, careful, deliberate. But Officer Harlan didn't wait. The moment Marcus cleared the door, Harlan grabbed his arm and yanked him hard toward the back of the car. Not for safety, not to secure the scene. It was force, unnecessary and aggressive. Aliyah's voice cut through the tension, still controlled but sharper now. Officer, he's complying. Please don't pull him like that. Harlan spun toward her instantly. Shut up, he barked. Stay in the car. Aliyah didn't shout back. She didn't insult him. She stayed exactly where she was, hands still visible, posture steady. But her voice carried authority now. Officer, I am informing you that we are federal law enforcement officers. You need to disengage and wait for your supervisor. For a brief second, everything paused. The night, the flashing lights, even the officer's movement, it all seemed to freeze. Then Harlan laughed. Sure you are, he said mockingly. And I'm the president. Marcus, still calm despite the rough handling, spoke clearly. We can present credentials, but I'm not reaching for anything unless you instruct me to, and not while you're agitated. That word, agitated, hit Harlan the wrong way. He stepped closer, his tone dropping lower, more dangerous. Put your hands behind your back. Marcus didn't resist. He didn't argue. He didn't pull away. I am not resisting, he said calmly, but you are making a mistake. The metal cuffs clicked. One wrist secured, then the other. Aliyah's breathing became heavier, but her voice remained steady. Officer, You are interfering with federal duties. This will not end well for you. Harlan leaned in close to Marcus, his voice filled with quiet arrogance. Out here, he said, you're nobody. That sentence hung in the air. Cold, heavy, final. And it would later become the line that changed everything. Minutes passed, but they felt longer. Marcus stood by the rear of the car, hands cuffed behind him, posture still straight. He didn't struggle. He didn't protest. He simply watched and listened. Inside the vehicle, Aliyah remained still, hands visible, eyes scanning every movement. She was calm, but alert. Then the sound of another engine approached. Backup. A second cruiser pulled up, lights flashing. Then a third. The quiet roadside turned into a scene of authority. Multiple officers, bright lights, radio chatter filling the night. One of the new officers stepped out. His name tag read Diaz. He didn't rush in. He didn't shout. He looked. First at Marcus. Then at Aliyah. Then at Harlan. His voice was lower, more measured. What's going on? Harlan answered quickly, almost too quickly. They're refusing to cooperate, claiming they're federal agents. Diaz didn't laugh. He didn't react the way Harlan expected. Instead, he looked directly at Marcus. Are you? He asked. Marcus nodded once. Yes. Aliyah added, we will present credentials when a supervisor arrives and it's safe to do so. Harlan scoffed loudly. They're lying. Diaz didn't respond immediately, but his expression changed slightly. Not convinced. Not comfortable. Just unsure. And that small shift mattered. Moments later, another vehicle arrived. This one different. No rush, no loud commands, just presence. The supervisor. Sergeant Mallory stepped out of the SUV, her face already showing frustration, not at the couple, but at the situation. Her eyes moved quickly, taking in everything. Multiple units. Driver in cuffs. Passengers still seated. Tension thick in the air. She walked forward. What do we have? She asked. Harlan stepped in immediately, talking fast. Suspicious vehicle. Matches description. Occupants argumentative. Refusing commands. Claiming federal status. He spoke like speed would make it sound more believable. Mallory didn't react. She didn't nod. She didn't agree. Instead, she turned her attention to Marcus. Sir, what's your name? Marcus Reed. And you, ma'am? Aliyah Reed. Mallory nodded once. Are you both claiming to be federal agents? Yes, Marcus replied. And we're requesting verification through dispatch on a supervisor channel, Aliyah added calmly. We'll present credentials in a controlled manner. Mallory turned her head slowly toward Harlan. Why is he in cuffs? Harlan answered quickly. Non-compliance. Mallory's eyes narrowed slightly. Non-compliance with what lawful order? There was a pause. Small, but loud. Harlan hesitated, and that hesitation said everything. Mallory turned back to Marcus. What reason did he give for the stop? Marcus answered clearly. He said we matched the description, but didn't specify. We asked multiple times. He escalated. We denied consent to search. He threatened force, then cuffed me. Aliyah added, we complied with safety instructions and requested a supervisor early. We believe we were profiled. Mallory didn't argue with that. She didn't dismiss it. She didn't defend her officer. Instead, she made a decision. Diaz, she said calmly, uncuff him, slowly. Harlan's head snapped toward her. Sergeant. She cut him off immediately. Now. Diaz stepped forward and carefully removed the cuffs. Marcus brought his hands forward, rubbing his wrists slightly where the metal had pressed into his skin. Aliyah let out a small breath. Not relief, just a release of tension. Mallory stepped aside and reached for her radio. Dispatch, I need a status check on Marcus Reed and Aliyah Reed. Supervisor channel. The radio crackled. Stand by, sensitive information. Confirm supervisor channel. Confirmed, Mallory replied. Everyone waited, even Harlan, especially Harlan. Then the response came. Both subjects confirmed federal law enforcement, one with DHS, one with DOJ task force. Additional information restricted. Silence. Real silence this time. Harlan's face changed. The confidence disappeared first. Then the certainty. Then the control. What? He muttered. That doesn't mean. It means you're done, Mallory said firmly. No shouting. No anger. Just final. Alia spoke again, calm but now unshakable. Sergeant, we want badge numbers. We want dispatch audio preserved. We want the CAD record and all body cam footage secured. Mallory nodded. You will have that. Harlan tried again, weaker now. I didn't know. Marcus looked at him. Not angry. Not loud. Just disappointed. That's the point, he said. You didn't know. You assumed. He paused, then added quietly. You treated us like a threat before you treated us like citizens. Mallory turned away, signaling another officer to stand with Alia while she pulled Harlan aside. Even though they stepped a few feet away, parts of the conversation were still audible. What was your probable cause? Mallory asked. Harlan didn't answer clearly. You escalated because they asked questions, she continued. You threatened force. You cuffed him without a lawful basis. Harlan had no response. Back by the car, Marcus and Alia stood together now. Still calm, still controlled, but everything had changed. The power had shifted. Not because of force, not because of shouting, but because the truth had finally been confirmed. And the camera had captured all of it. The drive home was quiet. No music, no small talk. Just the soft hum of the engine and the weight of what had just happened sitting between Marcus and Alia. Neither of them spoke for the first few minutes. Not because they didn't have anything to say, but because they both understood something important. This wasn't over. Not even close. When they finally pulled into their driveway, Marcus turned off the engine, but didn't step out immediately. His hands rested on the steering wheel, the same way they had during the stop. Alia looked at him. You okay? She asked softly. Marcus nodded once. I'm fine, he said. Then after a pause, but that could have gone very differently. Alia didn't disagree, because they both knew the truth. The cuffs, the tone, the words. None of that came from confusion. It came from assumption. They stepped inside their home, but instead of trying to relax or forget about it, they went straight into action. No delay. No hesitation. Marcus grabbed a notebook. Alia pulled out her laptop. Time, she said. 11:47 p.m. initial stop, Marcus replied. Location. County Road outside Riverton. 2-lane stretch before the East Junction. Officer name. Harlan. They worked like this for the next hour. Precise. Focused. Every detail mattered. They documented everything. The commands, the tone, the exact words used, the order of events, the moment the cuffs went on, and the moment the supervisor arrived. Nothing emotional. Just facts. Clear, direct, undeniable. Alia typed quickly. Failure to articulate reasonable suspicion, she said. Marcus nodded. Add escalation without lawful justification. She kept typing. Attempted search without consent or probable cause. Marcus added, threats inconsistent with de-escalation policy. Alia paused briefly, then added one more line. Use of language suggesting bias and unprofessional conduct. That one mattered, because it wasn't just about what he did. It was about why he did it. Once they finished, they didn't sit on it. They sent the complaint immediately. Internal Affairs, Police Chief, City Legal Department, Training Division. Every channel that mattered, because they knew something most people didn't. Speed matters. Evidence disappears. Footage gets lost. Records get misplaced. So they moved first. The next morning, things were quiet. Too quiet. But by Monday afternoon, the first response came in. Acknowledgement of complaint. By Wednesday, it escalated. Officer Harlan was placed on administrative leave. That was fast. Faster than usual. And that alone told them everything. The department had already seen the footage. And they knew. At first, the department tried to keep everything contained. Personnel matter. Under investigation. Internal review in progress. The usual language. Careful. Controlled. But things started slipping. A public records request was filed. Then another. A local journalist picked up a small detail. Traffic stop involving federal agents escalates. That headline alone was enough. Then a city council member asked questions. Then more attention followed. And just like that, it wasn't internal anymore. It was public. When the footage finally surfaced online, it spread fast. Very fast. Millions of views in days. Not because it was shocking, but because it was clear. There was no confusion, no gray area, just a sequence of decisions, and each one made things worse. People watched the video and saw it for themselves. The calm voices, the clear compliance, the repeated requests for a reason, the refusal to answer, the escalation, the cuffs. And that one line. Out here, you're nobody. That line hit harder than anything else, because it revealed something deeper. Not fear, not confusion, but mindset. Online reactions came in waves. Some people supported Marcus and Aliyah immediately. They did everything right. They stayed calm. They followed procedure. Others argued the opposite. They should have just complied. They made it worse by talking. But there was one problem with that argument. They did comply. Every safety instruction, every command related to movement, they followed all of it. The only thing they didn't do was stay silent, and that was enough to trigger everything. Then came the part nobody could ignore. The moment dispatch confirmed their federal status, everything changed instantly. Same people, same car, same location, same behavior. But suddenly, no more threats, no more aggression, no more step out now. That shift told the real story. Internal affairs moved quickly after that. They pulled everything. All body cam footage, all dash cam recordings, dispatch audio, call logs, and most importantly, Harlan's official report. They compared it line by line with the footage, looking for consistency, looking for justification, looking for truth. They found none. There was no valid description, no BO, no matching report, no probable cause. Just assumption and escalation. The findings were clear. Multiple violations. Failure to articulate reason for stop. Escalation without lawful basis. Attempted unlawful search. Use of threatening language. Conduct suggesting bias. And that one recorded statement. Out here, you're nobody. That alone became a key piece of evidence. Because it wasn't about procedure. It was about attitude. The department released a statement. Carefully written, neutral tone. Policy violations occurred. De-escalation protocols were not followed. The conduct did not reflect department standards. But behind that statement, things were more serious. Suspension without pay. Termination process started. Harlan tried to defend himself. I felt threatened. They were non-compliant. I followed procedure. But the footage didn't support any of it. And when evidence is that clear, words don't matter anymore. The decision came. Termination. Not reassignment. Not warning. Fired. And it didn't stop there. The case was forwarded for decertification review. Meaning, he might never wear a badge again. Then came the next wave. Other complaints. Old ones. Ignored ones. People started coming forward. Stories that sounded familiar. Same tone. Same pattern. Same behavior. What was once dismissed now had proof. And suddenly, it all mattered. The city moved quickly after that, because this wasn't just about one officer anymore. It was about liability, reputation, trust. Settlement talks began, quietly, quickly, and eventually, they settled. No trial, no long court battle, just resolution. But it came with conditions, policy changes, training updates, oversight improvements, because now they had no choice. Marcus and Aliyah didn't celebrate. They didn't go public. They didn't chase attention. They simply moved on. But what happened that night didn't disappear. It became a lesson, a real one, used in training rooms, discussed behind closed doors, a case study on how quickly power can be abused, and how quickly it can fall apart when challenged the right way. And somewhere in all of that, one truth stood out. This wasn't about luck. It was about knowledge and control and knowing exactly when to stand your ground. Weeks passed, but the story didn't fade. If anything, it grew louder. Not on the surface. Marcus and Aliyah stayed quiet, focused on their work, living their lives like they always had. But behind the scenes, their case was being studied, replayed, and analyzed in ways most people would never see. Training rooms, legal briefings, internal meetings. Because what happened on that road wasn't just a bad stop. It was a clear example of what happens when authority loses control. And that made it valuable. But the real twist, it didn't come from the video. It came from what happened after. About a month later, Marcus received a call. Unknown number. He'd almost ignored it. Almost. But something told him to pick up. "This is Marcus," he said. There was a pause on the other end. Then a voice he recognized immediately. "This is Harlan." Marcus didn't respond right away. Not out of anger. Just surprise. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from," Harlan continued. His voice was different now, lower, careful. Nothing like the man on that roadside. Marcus finally spoke. "What do you want?" Another pause. "I wanted to say I was wrong." Simple. Direct. But heavy. Marcus leaned back slightly. "That's it?" he asked. Harlan exhaled. "No, not just that. I've been going over everything. The footage, the reports, what I said, what I did." He hesitated. "I didn't see it at the time, but I see it now." Marcus didn't interrupt, didn't agree, didn't encourage. He just listened. "I thought I was in control," Harlan continued. "I thought I was handling a situation, but I wasn't. I was reacting, and I let my assumptions take over." Marcus' voice stayed calm. "You didn't just assume," he said. "You acted on it." "I know," Harlan replied quickly. "And I can't undo that." Silence. Then Marcus asked the question that mattered. "So why are you calling?" Harlan didn't hesitate this time. "Because I needed to say it to you directly. Not in a report, not through a statement. To you." Marcus let that sit for a moment. Then he said something Harlan probably didn't expect. "Do you understand what could have happened that night?" "I do," Harlan said quietly. "No," Marcus replied. "You understand now. But do you understand what it felt like in that moment?" Harlan didn't answer immediately. "I'm trying to," he said finally. Marcus' tone didn't change. "We weren't scared because of the stop," he said. "We were scared because of you." That landed. Hard. Harlan didn't defend himself. Didn't argue. Didn't explain. "I hear you," he said. Marcus nodded to himself, even though Harlan couldn't see it. "Good," he said. Another pause. Then Harlan spoke again. "I lost everything," he said. "My job, my career, my reputation. I can't even apply anywhere without that video following me." Marcus' response came quickly. "You didn't lose it," he said. "You gave it up." Silence again. Because that was the truth. Not punishment. Not bad luck. Choices. Harlan spoke one last time. I wanted you to know I'm sorry." Marcus didn't rush to respond. He didn't soften the moment. He didn't turn it into something emotional. He kept it real. "I hear your apology," he said, "but it doesn't change what happened." "I know," Harlan replied. "And it doesn't fix the system that allowed you to think that behavior was okay," Marcus added. "I know," Harlan said again, quieter this time. Marcus ended the call shortly after that. No dramatic ending. No forgiveness speech. Just closure. Real closure. Later that evening, Aliyah asked him about it. "What did he say?" she asked. "He apologized," Marcus replied. Aliyah looked at him carefully. "And?" Marcus shrugged slightly. "It doesn't change anything." Aliyah nodded, because she understood something important. This story was never about one apology. It was about something bigger. Power, control, and accountability. What happened that night didn't go viral just because it was dramatic. It went viral because it was familiar, too familiar. People had seen versions of that moment before. Different roads, different officers, different names, but the same pattern: assumption, escalation, justification, and sometimes no accountability. But this time was different because everything was documented, everything was clear, and the people involved knew exactly how to respond. Not with anger, not with panic, but with control. That's the real lesson. Not that things always end well, because they don't. Not that staying calm guarantees safety, because it doesn't. The lesson is this: knowledge matters, the way you respond matters, and documentation, that changes everything. Marcus and Aliyah didn't win because they were lucky. They didn't win because they had titles. They won because they understood the system, and they knew how to make it answer for itself. The officer thought the badge gave him power, but what he didn't realize was that power has limits, and the moment those limits are crossed, everything changes. One stop, 27 minutes, and a career ended, not because someone fought back with force, but because they stood firm with clarity. Now here's the final question for you. If you were in that car, would you have stayed that calm? Would you have asked those questions? Or would fear have taken over? Be honest. Drop your answer. And if this story made you think even a little differently about how these moments work, make sure you subscribe, because the next story, it goes even deeper. I appreciate your support. See you in the next video.